Okay, so today I'm going to be going over my week 10 recap of my data analysis job hunt. Two main differences here in terms of my presentation. Number one is this camera angle. The reason I have it off to the side is so that I can kind of simulate giving a presentation in person where, I can't be looking at the slides and the people at the same time. So I'm using the camera as sort of like an audience, trying to get better on that. Number two is I'm going to try to tell. Sorry, timer's going off. I'm going to try to tell each slide in terms of a story instead of just the facts. So, yeah, let's get right into it. So, this is my summary slide. I just want to get a big overview of kind of where I'm at right now. So, I've kind of chopped this job hunt up into 4 steps as opposed to components. Step 1 is technical courses, which is my SQL and Tableau course. Step 2 and 3 here are the guided projects and portfolio projects. This is basically showing proof of competency for the skills that I'm taking courses in. Don't need to do Excel or Python because I already have proof of competency in those. And then step 4 is getting a job. So where I'm at right now is the technical courses. So table of contents, I did swap these around. I put technical skills at number 1 and non-technical skills at number 2 because I believe these are the most important things. Then I shifted job apps also up as these 3 are the most important. Work rate and scheduling, it's technically not work. I don't consider it work anymore. Just because I can get lost in, I'm trying to optimize my routine or how well I work instead of actually working. Number 5, documentation. 6 other. These are the same. So number 1, technical skills. This little new thing I'm doing here is I put an X over the components where I did not do any work for the week. That way we can get through this presentation faster. So since I'm still on the guided courses, I'm not at projects yet. I haven't done any projects. Moving forward onto the SQL course. I was going to put how much time I spent on these SQL courses, but I forgot to put that in. Anyways, we'll check on only difference here from previous week. I should put the previous week where I was, but it says here I only did select and sort data as well as record counts and distinct values. I spent probably 2 hours troubleshooting technical problems with this. Initially, the SQL course is now on Google BigQuery. I was having problems with that, and then I saw in the Discord people were just recommending to use Docker and SQL Pad. So I did that. That took ages to set up. So I was doing that. It's all set up now, so we're good on that. And I spent maybe an hour and a half on record counts and distinct values. Maybe it's an hour on select and sort data. Next is my Tableau course. I'm not sure how to tell this slide in terms of a story. I'll pause and think for a second. So, there are a couple of frameworks to tell a story. One is STAR, which is usually used for behavioral interviews. You got situation. What's the situation here? I feel like the situation is I want to learn Tableau because that's a useful skill as a data analyst, as well as gaining insights from data. But that's why I would start the Tableau course, not necessarily a continuation of it. I guess the setup's already passed. We're just still in the action phase. So, yeah, I guess I'll kind of give up on the story for this one more so. Yeah, the story is I'm continuing the SQL and Tableau courses. For Tableau, I learned connecting and blending data, which is basically just importing and uploading files to Tableau and being able to open them. And then blending data is combining tables and whatnot. Well, data blending is technically not combining tables. It's using two different tables, analyzing them without physically merging the data. Sorting, grouping, and filtering. Honestly, sounds what it is what it sounds like. So, yeah, now I'm on section 5. Spreadsheets. So, what I learned here, data validation. This is basically just stuff that I use in my. It's not necessarily related to an Excel course for data analysis. I learned this little neat trick for that I use in my daily log when I'm logging my work efficiency, and I use this in my other spreadsheets now too. Is I will create a separate sheet for data validation. And what this means, data validation, typically, if I have a field, in this example, work efficiency, there'll be a couple of different options I can select. I can select, terrible, bad, okay, good, and very good. So, and this is categorical data. So what I can do is just make that separate data validation spreadsheet. Have a cell for each of those categories, and then in the validation menu you can select drop down list from a range. So I then select that range, which makes it a lot easier to update or change values if I want to. And then also what I can do with that is I can just put a number next to each categorical value in that data validation spreadsheet. So for example, terrible might be -2, bad might be -1, and okay might be 0. So then, if I'm doing some analysis, what I can do is, okay, I can just, select which categorical value that is, and then select the cell right next to it, which will be its numerical value, so I can do some averages and stuff like that. That story was a bit long-winded. I think I could make that a lot more concise, for sure. Maybe with just prep. Not sure. Next section. So I scheduled a meeting with this data analyst who also has a YouTube channel. The YouTube channel is Lore So What, where he offers kind of like discovery calls or like mentorship or coaching sessions. So I bought one of those, and I brought up spreadsheets just to confirm what I had been thinking about it earlier, where I really don't need to work on it, or it's not worth my time, which was mostly true. And I asked him what functions I would need to learn, that are used a lot, and he said XLOOKUP, VLOOKUP, and pivot tables. I really don't use these in my spreadsheets. I don't even know what XLOOKUP is or VLOOKUP is, so I'll do some research on that. Maybe I can implement it into my daily spreadsheet use. We'll see. Oh, next section, probability and statistics. So this part I could actually leave off for now, because I've already got a decent background in probability. And then I asked in that coaching session, Lore, about what statistics data analysts need. And he said it really depends on what kind of company and position you're going for. So I specifically asked about hypothesis testing because I have some of my own data sets that I've gathered that I want to do hypothesis testing on. So I wanted to know how valuable would it be to pursue that. And he said how hypothesis testing is really only used for like product analyst roles and some other roles. He said he doesn't use it because he's working in sales at Amazon, so it's not as useful. So I'll only work on this during the nighttime. After 10 p.m. I got electronics off. What I do is I'll pop open a book or something like that. So that'll be the time I work on this. Right now, I'm still going through the ACE Data Science interview book. I want to go through product sense and case studies before I get to this. I want to finish what I start before I start a new thing. So that's where I'm at right now with that. Next section, non-technical skills. So here, didn't work on speaking and presenting. Technically I did. I'm doing that right now, but no work outside of just doing my weekly recap. So yeah, behavioral interview questions. What I did is I did work a little bit on why data analysis or tell me about yourself. Kind of worked on the outline for that. I was asked this question in one of my previous interviews for the math company, which I botched twice. Second time was worse, way worse. So I'm glad I'm working on that. Only worked about 20 minutes on it though. I was listening to a podcast, and then the story kind of popped in my head. I'm like, all right, I'll jot this down. So, what I still have to do with that is I still want to answer some more questions, and then I also want to practice the stories I've already done. I don't have a set schedule for this. I think I should do that because I do want to have a spaced repetition system for these things. So, yep. Moving on, storytelling, as I'm doing right now. Previously, I had no work done in storytelling. Well, my to-do was basically when to tell stories and when to tell facts, and look into this more. So I'm thinking, how can I implement stories? I know I should be, during my presentations, I should be storytelling. But in my mind, I wasn't sure how to go after that. So my first attempt at this is to make each slide a separate story. So that's what I'm doing. Number 3, job applications. As I previously mentioned, I am still on the technical courses phase, so that means I'm not on the application phase. So no work has been done in any of these sections. A slight concession, technically, I have done some LinkedIn work. Every now and then I'll go on LinkedIn, make some new connections, look at other people's posts, try to help them out. So if I ever need it, hopefully they'll help me out. No networking though, just following people in the data industry and stuff like that, hopefully getting some good advice and whatnot. So yeah, moving forward to work rate and scheduling. Didn't make any progress on work schedule, so we're going to leave that section out. This week's work rate. So this week I worked a total of 800 minutes. Okay, I want to pause for a second because I want to try to tell this in terms of a story instead of just reading off the slides. So let me think. Okay, so this week a couple of things happened. Number 1, we had some visitors over from the UK. They were staying in our house. A couple was staying in my room, so I didn't have my room, which is my workspace. So that jumbled up my days a bit. I was sleeping in my sister's room, so waking up ended up being a little more difficult because my alarm clock, I didn't want to set it too far away from me because I feel like it's kind of, I don't want to mess up my sister's sleep schedule. But in doing so, having it close to me, I wasn't getting out of bed and then turning it off and then going straight for some sunlight. So I did end up sleeping in more. So the schedule I mostly worked within each of these days was not, a set wake up time, work session for 3 hours, eat, another work session. It was I'll wake up whenever, eat whenever, and kind of work whenever. Now previously, I'll go to the next slide just to show. These first 4 weeks, I believe, was the schedule I was operating on. As you can see, even though my week 10 work rate is much lower than week 8 or 9, it is much, much higher than these first 4 weeks. So my ability to work within that schedule has definitely increased. So that's a big plus, even though I'm only working 200 minutes per day. So that's why my total work time, that's why my time spent per day decreased. I guess I was really going after this first. I should have indicated that. Next story would be total work time and days off, I guess. Yeah. So I had 3 days off. I took Saturday and Sunday off because Saturday and Sunday was a mustache crawl in Chicago. Yeah, and the mustache crawl, it's not starting at, 8 p.m. or something like that, like a typical bar crawl. It starts at 10 a.m. So that took up my whole day. Of course, Sunday, recovery day, and chill day. I really like to have, I feel like my mental health has gotten a lot better when I just don't give myself any expectations the day after going out. I'll permit myself to do work, but by no means a requirement. And the other day off was Wednesday, which I took a day off just to focus on learning about soccer and stuff like that. Cause one of my favorite hobbies. I've been playing it for almost 2 decades now. That's a long time. So, yup. But I think in the future I'm only gonna do that as half the day. I feel like doing that as a whole day. Didn't like it too much. Next part of this slide. So total work time, days off, average days. Okay, yeah. Now the next story would be the distribution of my time. Well, I'm glad I'm doing this kind of in the story format because now I can see that I think these should be split up a little bit more. Or the way this slide is formatted isn't the most conducive to telling stories. I'm gonna. Oh. Okay. So next story. So this week, I only spent what was this? 2.5 hours. Yeah, I only spent about one long work section on documentation. And then the rest of it on technical skills. Why this distribution? It's because of this thing called the 80-20 rule, which I believe was coined by Tim Ferriss. I'm not sure if he found it from someone else, but at least it was popularized by Tim Ferriss. And upon meeting with having two coaching sessions with 2 different people, it seems to be that the most output I'll get is if I'm working on technical skills right now. So that's why I'm spending a lot of time on that. Yep. Oh, jeez. I forgot to take my allergy meds or something? No, well. Anyways. So I already talked about this. Kind of story diverged into this slide. So, move on now. Yes, so my work rate. My work rate was a little bit lower than week 9. Still, I would say it's still pretty good. Or technically it's just above okay. There were a couple of reasons for this. I think a better way to go after this work rate, or to learn, yeah, I think a better way to learn from this work rate and to tell this work rate as a story is to first show my work rate on the days I work. So I'm actually just going to do that. I'll go to my daily log, which was this week. Dude, I wish I could show. Ooh, I want to see if I can get header slides to show up still here. I'm going to make a note of that. Header fields to show up when scrolling down in Google Sheets. Okay, save that for later. So here is my work rate column. Can I just highlight this, please? Okay, I'm not going to do this. Okay, so here's my work rate column. And then I think I could analyze each day and why my work rate was the way it was. So first I'll go after bad. I think this one was bad because I was fairly disorganized. I'm basically starting like up another project like I did for this was the soccer day, by the way. So technically it was a vacation day, but this was bad because I felt I was very disorganized. And I was also, my schedule wasn't as neatly constructed. I wasn't as good at dealing with an unstructured day, which I've been doing with these days, which I've definitely gotten better at. I think I should just take notes because I don't remember that much. Also, another thing I want to do with this work rate is the work rate for the whole day. which was 230 minutes of work. However, this 230 minutes of work wasn't done in one complete session, or one single session. It was broken up into, I think it was 3 sessions. No, this was, yeah, okay, this was 3 sessions. This was one, and these 2 were kind of just during my break time, I guess. But my work efficiency was not the same for each of those sessions, and there's different reasons for, or yeah. So there'd be 2 separate different analyses for how my work rate was. So I'll hold off on this for now because it's quite disorganized. But one thing that definitely affected my work schedule is, one, I had lunch and it was a big lunch, so I was full. And while I was working right after I was full, I was really hard to maintain focus. So that was one. Another reason for my work rate to be bad is it being very unstructured. I'm not sure what I'm getting after. It's usually good if it's structured, good sleep, and then typically if I have some sort of caffeine. However, the day after, my work efficiency is typically worse. So, do I have anything here? Oh, yeah. I'm going to skip this for now. It's not super important. So, for daily schedule, oh yes, I'm also eating some food in the morning. The reason I'm eating some food in the morning is because sometimes during my intermittent fasting, I'll overeat during some of my meals because I do want to gain weight. But this overeating leads to, 1, poor mood afterwards. When my stomach's so full, I just don't feel that great. And 2, my work efficiency is pretty poor after that. So, although I'm not really eating breakfast, I'm just eating like a protein bar. It's only like 200 calories. So maybe I'm thinking I might button it up to like 400 something, but I don't really have any quick way to do that yet. And then also I'm testing WakeFlex and EatFix/Flex, which just basically means wake up whenever and then eat maybe at a certain time or just eat whenever. So I'm doing that again. My work efficiency is a lot higher during these schedules, so I feel a lot better about that. My resilience in terms of how my day is structured and how much work I'm able to get done is a lot higher, so that's good. Yeah, what I have to do, continue testing. I also want to commit to picking a schedule instead of kind of going with the wind. But, but I suppose going with the wind may increase resilience if I'm just not, like, okay, this is what I'm doing, and I'm going to have to use that discipline to stay at that schedule to make my work efficiency high. So I'll think about that later. But I also want to have some more detailed stats in the breakdown of each schedule. Oh, yeah, one more thing that I'm pretty upset about. But yeah, it is what it is. I mean, my Fitbit premium membership expired, so I don't have my sleep score anymore. I could purchase or renew the membership. I'll I think with the amount of money I have right now, I don't think it's a wise investment. I think I'll probably do this when I have more money or when I have a greater income. So, yeah. Documentation, didn't do anything with logs or my videos. Weekly recap. So here, biggest change I'm planning to make is instead of weekly recaps, I do bi-weekly recaps. This is similar to the 80-20 rule. Or similar. This is... Oh, yeah. So, as I mentioned earlier, how I was focusing most of my time towards my technical skills instead of any of the other components was because of this thing called the 80-20 rule. I didn't actually explain what the 80-20 rule was earlier. So, what the 80-20 rule is it says that 20% of the work you do leads to 80% of the results. In other words, some of the things you do produce more results than others. So you should focus on that instead of other things. And you may think, oh, well, that's pretty intuitive. Well, why would I not do that? Well, it's because that other 80% of things will pop up into, well, the other 80% of things will present itself to you, and you'll just be like, oh, I'll just knock this out really quickly. Like, let's say, I don't know, my floor is a bit messy, so it's distracting me a bit. So I'm thinking, okay, I'll vacuum the floor because that's distracting me. And since it's distracting me, if I fix that, I'll end up doing more work. However, spending that 15-20 minutes vacuuming will probably not get as much work done or produce as much output as would have just actually working on my technical skills. So that's the premise of it. And the reason I want to do bi-weekly recaps is because I don't think doing a weekly recap every week this is more difficult to explain than I thought. So my primary goal right now is technical skills and interview questions. Weekly recaps are, I would say, using these are non-technical skills and they are important. However, I don't think they're as important as I'm weighing them right now. I don't think doing them every week will get me towards where I want to go as much as if I instead focus on technical skills like today, and instead of off my train of thought, instead of working on my weekly recap in terms of presenting stuff. The actual presentation I think is still very useful, but the amount of work that has to go into making all these slides and all this stuff like that, I don't think is very worth it. So I think, I lost where I am. I think it's better if I just do this every other week. May not be the case, so we'll see. I'll try it out for a bit. And then also I'm taking out a bunch of slides that I don't need. And then also change the order of the sections. What I have to do, I don't know if I'm going to modify the task completed / to-do slide unless something organically comes to me, whereas, showing like a picture or something, or like that progress bar of the course and stuff like that. Then also I want to include product sense and case studies into my technical skills. Maybe I'll put them in probability and statistics, kind of like that category. Of course, this is not probability and statistics. However, I would say probability and statistics are definitely in a different category than Excel, SQL, and Tableau. Because those are all softwares. This is more like non-software technical skills, I guess. So for my other section, what I did was I had that one-on-one coaching meeting with Lore. His name is Lorenzo, by the way. So that abbreviation or a nickname makes more sense. We talked about good versus bad companies, in the sense that a good company is organized and a bad company is disorganized. Because I don't want to go into a company where my boss doesn't know what a data analyst is and what I should be doing and stuff like that. So a couple of telltale signs is, one, if there's like data engineers in their company. So what I could do is I could look up a company that has a job posting, and then check the other employees in that company and see if there are data engineers or data architects and other data positions and stuff like that. Yeah, that was the big one. Other ones were like, if their job description just like doesn't make much sense, if they're not listing what software they use, or if they're listing a whole encyclopedia of softwares and stuff like that. The next thing we talked about is to frame interviews as practice, not necessarily as like, oh, I'm gunning for the job, I need to get to the job now. You can frame it as a learning experience, like, hey, it might not work out, but at least it'll be practice. Then also using ChatGPT, and then some updates to my resume, like adding a hobby section to my resume, because that can be a good conversation starter And a good conversation starter would be a good display of non-technical skills. In other words, just like communication, soft skills, stuff like that. What do I have to do? Don't know. Don't really have anything on the docket for this, other than ChatGPT, I guess. So, yeah. And that's the end. So, see you later.